Yes, Shastri. I am a faculty in the Department of Electrical Engineering in ISRO Science. On behalf of the organizing committee of this workshop, I extend a very warm welcome to all of you. This is a workshop for promoting the interdisciplinary work between neuroscience and computer science. So as you can see, the lectures as well as the audience are spread between biology background and computer science background, and we hope this will create the right kind of dialogue. We have a very brief inauguration before we start with the technical program. So I once again warmly welcome all of you for this workshop, and I hope all of you will enjoy the workshop for the next 5 days. And we're particularly thankful to Mr. Tis Gopalakrishnan and the Pratiksha Trust, whose support has been really instrumental in organizing these workshops. They have been really supporting this kind of interdisciplinary research work at ISC, and we're very thankful to them. The inauguration just consists of 2 short remarks. I first invite Professor Shihab Sharma, professor at the University of Maryland, College Park, and also Vaidyanathan, visiting chair at ISC, to say a few words about the technical content of the workshop. Professor Shihab.
Good morning. I was just told that I should try to describe in few words this workshop, and as you can tell from the title, it's almost impossible. It covers everything in existence: brain, computations, and learning. And as you just heard also, that this is an extremely interdisciplinary kind of activity or workshop, that you're going to have a whiplash hearing one talk after another. And going from extreme biology to extreme mathematics, represented by extreme biology with Christoph Schreiner here, to extreme mathematics, to Stefan Malat, and every shade in between. And so I guess the purpose of this workshop is to expose especially the future scientists, the up-and-coming generation, to the kind of work that is happening everywhere in the world nowadays that involves interdisciplinary science. This is kind of stuff that you don't study in your department, because departments give you some basics in a focused area, and you're supposed to go out of your comfort zone and be inspired by the people next door. And that's very difficult. You have to be not very shy. You have to be willing to admit that you don't understand a word of what they're saying. And in the workshop, you're going to experience all these feelings. There are going to be talks that make absolutely no sense, and others that make no sense to your neighbors. And so hopefully you will be inspired to try to learn and ask your neighbors about what's going on and why is this really interesting, and so on. So please do not, I'm not saying this on behalf of the speakers, because I didn't ask their permission, but you really, if you could, ask questions. This is supposed to be a learning experience, as it says in the title. So try to learn as much as you can by asking and getting engaged in discussions and so on, okay? And thank everybody here for incredible hospitality, as usual. So, Dr. Narahari, you want to?
Thank you, Shihab, and good morning, everyone. My name is Narahari. I'm from the Department of Computer Science and Automation here. I'm here to give you a very brief background of this workshop on brain, computation, and learning. First of all, on behalf of IASC, a very warm welcome to this workshop to all of you. As Professor Shastri was mentioning, this workshop is made possible because of the Pratiksha Trust, which Mr. Chris Gopalakrishnan happens to be a founder. So Pratiksha Trust has facilitated the setting up of 3 chair professor positions at the Indian Institute of Science as well as at IIT Madras. And already we have 3 distinguished chair professors who are engaged with the activities at IIT Madras. And at IISc, we have Shri K. Vaidyanathan Chair Professor, Professor Shihab Sharma, who just now talked to you. And then we have Mrs. Sudhamurthy, Distinguished Chair, Professor Vasant Honavar, who is here. Let's welcome both Professor Shihab Sharma and Professor Vasant Honavar. And both of them will be giving talks in this workshop. And many of you may already know that in addition to setting up of these distinguished chair positions, Mr. Chris Gopalakrishnan also has given a magnificent endowment to the Indian Institute of Science to set up the Center for Brain Research at IISc. So as a result of the setting up of these chair positions, it has naturally culminated in a group, in a faculty group being formed in the broad area of neurocomputing and data science. I'm very happy to say that as many as 25 faculty members, cutting across divisions and departments in the institute, as many as 8 departments in the institute have come together to form this group and sort of seed this activity at the Indian Institute of Science. I would like to say that the chair professors will be working very closely with this faculty group, with the PhD students and also with the master's students to have a very lively ecosystem for neurocomputing and data science at IISc. So this is the first major initiative of this faculty group on data science and neurocomputing. And the organizing committee consisting of Professor Shastri, Professor Shihab Sharma, Professor Rishikesh Narayanan, Professor Arun, Professor Chandrasekhar Seelamantula, Professor Arnab Bhattacharya, and Professor Partha Talukdar has done a wonderful job in putting together this 5-day workshop. And I'm sure all of us are going to have a great time during the next week at the workshop. And finally, it is very befitting that the inaugural talk in this workshop is going to be given by Mr. Chris Gopalakrishnan himself. He is truly the champion of this major initiative in brain research in the country right now. And not only that, he has been a champion of many such strategic initiatives in very key areas of national importance to India. He does not need any introduction whatsoever. He is a co-founder of Infosys and currently chairperson of the Axilor Ventures. So we have a true champion here, Mr. Chris Gopalakrishnan. So let's give him a wide applause and invite him to give the inaugural talk in this workshop on brain computation and learning. Thanks.
Okay, good morning to every one of you, and thanks Narahari, and thanks to the organizing committee for a wonderful workshop. Of course, the program is with every one of you, and the program, it's based on the program and the speakers that I say that it's going to be a wonderful workshop for the next 5 days. The workshop at IIT Madras just got finished, and I think some of you attended the workshop at IIT Madras. So, we are trying to now connect these two initiatives together and collaborate in as many ways as we can. My presentation is to share with you my excitement of the field, why I am supporting this, share some thoughts on what I believe to be are the opportunities. And as I say in every one of these forums, it's, I think, your work that makes these things happen. Your hard work and your research that makes these things happen. At the highest level, one, I want to say that this field is going to change. Neurocomputing, the area of brain research, data sciences is part of that. All these areas are going to change how we see the world, how we work, live, and that's what I want to share. And I want to, second, so it's going to change. And second, I want to make sure in whatever way I can, of course, with all your support and help, that Indian Institute of Science has a role to play in making these things happen. That's where I'm coming from. Let me add my welcome to every one of you from Pradeesha Trust, especially those people who have come from outside India. It's a significant commitment they're showing to the work that's happening here by traveling long distances and spending full weeks. Some of them are spending 2 full weeks here, and so it's a significant commitment, and I want to thank all of them. I want to thank the organizers. Let me also say this is the second week of the new year, so best wishes for 2017. And to the students, I'm told that more than 200 students have registered for this workshop. A lot more wanted to attend the workshop. I think the registrations had to be closed out. So this is a great opportunity for you. You are, just like I was in 1977, at the right place at the right time. Okay, I saw the growth of computer science, from that stage onwards. It was probably at the earliest stage. PC was introduced in 78, 79 by Apple, personal computer. So you can say that's really when it took off. And I was able to see some of the amazing things that happened. But you are at the right place at the right time to see the next 30 years of the evolution of computer science, now of course combined with neuroscience. And so please take advantage of not just the workshop, but the connections and the networks that you can create by meeting some of the best people around the world who are working at leading edge research in these areas. And I want to start off by pointing out some major breakthroughs that have happened in 2016, some milestones. A lot of work has gone on for many years, but some milestones that have happened in 2016. There are several things which are common to all of these that I've selected. Of course, every one of them involves computers in any way, in some form or other. In fact, I would venture to say that computer science today touches every field. Even if you want to do research on history, languages, everything, computer science touches. So computer science is part of that. But these are milestones actually. The discovery of gravitational waves, the LIGO project actually. Interestingly, of course, there's engineering, science, technology, everything, truly interdisciplinary work. But interestingly, for the LIGO project, several people from India were also part of the team, and that's what excites me about that. And I want to make sure that every one of such discoveries in the future have contributions from people from India. The second theme I've chosen is genomics, genetic engineering, especially for example, the treating of cancer. Actually, field trials and experimental trials have already been demonstrated to show complete cure. And so much so that I think it's Time magazine which said that within 10 years, and Microsoft also ventured to say that using editing, gene editing, we will be able to cure cancer in 10 years. That's the statement Microsoft made. So it's actually quite exciting. And again, I feel that we must have some role to play here. The third is about brain interface to humans. And we have demonstrated this, a paralyzed man regaining the ability to feel with an artificial hand. It's just not about grasping things, etc., but he is also able to feel the sense of touch at the finger level. This was at the University of Pittsburgh, I believe. You're able to feel the fingers with the artificial hand. So the whole area of neuroprosthesis is again an exciting area, and we can create devices that aid human intelligence to improve quality of life for people suffering from impaired brain functions like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia. Kernel, and I was seeing here, there's a magazine here called Kernel, right? But this startup in US actually specializes in experimenting with implantable devices that facilitates communication between brain cells and basically you can actually communicate with brain cells directly. That's what they are trying to do. Of course, all of you are aware of artificial intelligence beating human intelligence through the game of Go, some time back in chess, in Jeopardy, etc. Then the field trials on autonomous vehicles. And the last item I've chosen, and you may wonder why it is there, but it's really not a discovery, right? Active users on Facebook greater than 1.79 billion. When I presented this at IT Madras, that line was not there. And in the discussions that happened there with various people, it triggered a line of thought, and I thought I should share with you here. And I added that because I feel that it's a significant milestone, not 1.79 billion, but it's a huge number. It's unprecedented in the history of the world that all of these people can collaborate on one application, one website, 1.79 billion people, and the whole emergence of social network. And the line of discussion we had, and that's why these workshops are very important. There was a discussion about how knowledge is accumulated in the brain, how it's represented. Does brain have different layers, or everything is interconnected to everything else? How does evolution play a role in this? And somehow the discussion went to how did the internet evolve? It's organically evolving. There is no single point of control. Knowledge is being accumulated. I'll come to this theme. There's you specify an address, but you don't know how the path is going to be, and you cannot predict even how the path is going to be. And in almost all cases, the information reaches where it's supposed to reach. There is a mechanism to actually put weights to knowledge, and this whole discussion about post-truth, new term that's been added. It's a very interesting discussion actually. Now, how do you know what is truth out on the internet? how does knowledge now get created on the internet and where, etc. A very interesting concept, and this is an organically developing intelligent mechanism on the internet. Now, can we create some kind of analogy between this and how the brain actually, because nature had billions of years to evolve to a structure that is there today and hopefully very efficient. And it is efficient. We have not been able to reach anywhere close to the efficiency. What is parallel to that, sir, has evolved, and it has evolved in the last 30 years, really, actually less than 30 now. The browser was introduced in 1992 or 93. So, in a short period of 23 years, we have this complex web which accumulates knowledge arising. I'll come back to this towards the end of the presentation to pose a question. But to me, that's the reason why I added that line, because I felt that there is something here that may be interesting to all of us to look at, because this is organically developing. Evolution has created the brain through trials and errors and things like that. And is there some because we are all trying to understand how the brain works and how evolution has shaped the brain. Very quickly, at some point in the future, I believe computer performance is going to exceed human performance, especially in the area of intelligence. This has been happening all through the history of humankind. We wonder how something happens in nature. We want to replicate that in real life, and we far exceed nature at some point of time, sometimes with negative consequences. We wondered how flight happened. So we wanted to fly. We started modeling with wings and things like that, and pretty soon decided that's not the right way to do this. And of course, we have now flight, and we can go to different planets and things like that. And we didn't exactly model nature, but we far exceeded what nature did. But we also did many other things around it. If you look at the Airbus A380, 600 people can fly together. So we again, outdid nature in some way. When we want to move from point A to point B. In computation also, we said, okay, we can use computers for numerical computations, but now billions of numerical computations can happen within a second, far exceed human capability. So we wondered how the brain does. We don't know how the brain does. We created our own way of doing this, and we far exceeded, I believe, human capability and what nature could do. So every endeavor we do this, and this is the reason why I believe in artificial intelligence also at some point in the future we will far exceed. And we may or may not mimic nature. So we wonder how nature does it, and we create our own way of doing things. And that's probably how we are doing machine intelligence today. Deep learning, etc. We think that's one way of doing things. We don't know exactly how nature does this. What has enabled this is parallel computing, in massive parallel computing, big data on the cloud, and of course deeper algorithms, especially now in artificial intelligence and things like that. So, like I said, we do it in our own way. We figure out how to combine science, technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship. And now I'm using the term entrepreneurship very generally. I strongly believe that any researcher is an entrepreneur, because with constrained resources, with limited knowledge, they do extraordinary things. That's what entrepreneurs do in businesses. So every researcher to me is actually an entrepreneur. With constraints, they actually overcome those constraints, because those constraints are facing everybody else, but these people overcome those constraints to come out with something new. So in the creation of new knowledge, in the creation of new technologies, in the creation of science, actually advancing science, these are really the entrepreneurs. Now, why did I say that you are at the right place at the right time? You know, if you look at industrial revolutions, and my background mostly is in business, right? So when you look at industrial revolutions, every one of them created significant changes in the world, including shift in economic dominance and things like that. The third industrial revolution, US typically dominated that, started somewhere in the 60s, and that's why I said I was at the right place at the right time. And some people speculate that we are at the beginning of the fourth industrial revolution. So, you know, the World Economic Forum announced that 2015 is the beginning of the fourth industrial revolution, which combines physical, biological, and digital systems, and of course, artificial intelligence, deeper algorithms, etc., to create a new wave of progress. When we say physical, what they mean is intelligence in everything that you can think of, and they're all connected. So pervasive intelligence. So every physical thing has now intelligence, and possible to create intelligence within that. Digital is the computing infrastructure that we can think of in the science, computer science, and the biological systems, and that's why it said, you know, connecting the brain to physical things and things like that, and controlling. You know, there are experiments going on where can you control a plane just using brain, right? Can you connect that? So this is actually starting, and this is why when I look at the students, I say you are at the right place at the right time. This is the field to be in. This is going to have significant impact. All the technologies, you know, this is some of them only, but you know, there are many other technologies that are relevant. So let me now come to you know, why I'm supporting this and why I'm excited and why this workshop, etc. First of all, you know, there has to be a idea, a hypothesis behind the way this is structured. I strongly believe that global collaboration on research is very, very important. There is no point in our labs reinventing the wheel. We all need to collaborate, and mostly research, you know, works that way. You know, people publish papers and collaborate and connect with people. I want to reinforce that actually, and reinforce it in a way in which we tap into the talent that's available in India, connect the talent that's available in India to the research that is happening in this area, and that's the reason why I strongly feel that this area has to develop here in India. And I already said that this is at the beginning of a wave, a revolution, so we need to be part of that. If we join together, if more people work on the same area, hopefully we will get faster solutions and we'll get cheaper solutions. And in India especially, I feel that, you know, the reason why I'm coming forward to support this is private investment in research has to increase. It's primarily been government investment, so private investment in research has to increase, and it is increasing, and I can see it, and a lot more people believe that they need to support research, business, philanthropists, etc. So I'm very hopeful about that. I gave you an idea about why the brain. You know, pervasive intelligence everywhere with infinite computing and storage, and what does that mean, and the connectivity to, you know, physical and biological things. So what does that mean? And I also said artificial intelligence will exceed human intelligence at some point of time. Some more things I want to add to this. Now, in late 90s, early 2000s, etc., we were able to sequence the human genome. Now we are able to edit the human genome. We talked about you know, cure for cancer, understanding of you know, how the genes have an impact, DNA have an impact on life, etc. Understanding the brain can create new models of computing, and I talked about the internet, I talked about understanding the brain using different models and things like that. Brain could be understood at the quantum level, at the atomic level, at the field level, at the chemistry level, at the physics level, at the mathematics level, biology, of course, systems level. So we can look at all these things and figure out how we've reached where we are, what is the architecture and things like that. We can create better computing systems. The other area where brain is very good is the use of power, right? 20 watts or so, and if you can think of pervasive computing, an entire world with intelligence, think about the amount of power that it would require. I think it was best illustrated by a comment made in the workshop in Chennai, and the comment was, if you look at the phone, which all of us we have, it's actually just a battery. The processor in that is probably like a thumb, the space of the thumb. Really, we are carrying around batteries actually. It's all batteries. So if we can actually miniaturize that, like we have miniaturized the intelligence, actually, this can be just a speck. So there's a significant opportunity to think about better materials, lower power consumption, and things like that. I also believe that there's an opportunity to look at the current computing model, which is built on, of course, history of how computer science has evolved, which is the programming model that we have created. You think about a problem, you come out with an algorithm, you convert that algorithm into a program, load that into a machine, and the machine executes that. It's a finite state automata that runs on that machine. That's the model that we have created, and with that model, and I've been trying to figure out how much software exists in the world. I'm getting estimates from 250 billion lines of code to 1 trillion plus lines of code. Whatever it is, even if it's 250 billion lines of code, it's huge. All the software Google has is estimated to be 2 billion lines of code. I know you have seen the estimates of Windows, etc., 40 million lines of code. Anything that you can think of is a huge amount of code. And then we have created a nightmare for maintenance of all these things. So is there a better model? Think about that. If you want to learn something, our brains have to be reprogrammed, right? Nature decided that's not the way to go. In fact, nature decided, the DNA sequence is not probably the right way to pass knowledge from one generation to another generation. Just give it a spark of learning. And that's where I believe the brain came. So the living being can respond faster to changes happening in the environment. Previously, it took 5-6 generations to actually adapt. Now, can the living being adapt faster using the brain and through learning and things like that? So is there a way we can understand this and use it better? I also talked about our model of replicating nature, which is brute force. Throw everything at it and find a solution. Nature does it beautifully, elegantly, and with the absolute minimum necessary resources. In fact, left to nature alone, we will not have the issue of climate change and sustainability and things like that, because everything, if there is something bad, there will be something else created that will consume that and eliminate that waste. There is no waste in nature. Everything has its own purpose and use. So we can again learn from all these things. So I come to this question about where are we going? I believe we are augmenting human capabilities and machine capabilities. Both will have to go together. And that's how I see this. We do expect this field, computational neuroscience, to take center stage within the next decade, or maybe 2 decades or 3 decades. I don't know how much time will take, but I strongly feel that it is going to take center stage in the future. Ray Kurzweil has predicted that we'll be able to, I'm quoting now, expand our neocortex via brain to brain and brain to computer connections by 2030. Right, and we've seen early signs of that, connecting the brain to the artificial hand and things like that. So now let me come back. Now, if we imagine that all the knowledge that ever was created and ever going to be created is actually available now in some computers, some form, across the world, and all of that is interconnected. Now, can we tap into that directly from our brain? Maybe we don't require these smartphones. And we create a new way of creating this future of seamless integration of human capabilities with machine capabilities, especially when it comes to knowledge, when it comes to information, when it comes to decision making and things like that. It's possible. Some people at least believe that. That's why this is exciting, and that's why I see this workshop being very important. The two centers which are there at IIT Madras and IISc have an opportunity with all the support and help from people around the world. I see this as an integral part of this exciting opportunity that's in front of us to imagine, think, and create this new world. I firmly believe that it's possible. Whatever we are seeing, if in 1997 when I entered this field, somebody would say that, I got the opportunity to work at the second largest mainframe in Asia at that point, IBM 370 at IIT Madras. It was at that point the second largest mainframe in the country. If somebody at that point said, I would hold something that is probably 1,000 times more powerful in my hand, I don't think anybody could have said that, and anybody could have imagined that. But we can now think audaciously, and we can try and create this. So I wish you all the very best for the next 5 days. But more importantly, with this, we're beginning a journey, and looking forward to hearing a lot of interesting discoveries from this group. Thank you all very much. Sure. Time is there? Okay.
So, Chris would like to take one or two questions.
And if I don't know the answer, I have my chair professors here who will answer.
Yeah, sure.
Went ahead. Yeah, thank you. We learned from nature and went ahead, and we excelled at that. And then you also mention about how nature has its own way of doing things and cleansing whatever pollutant is accumulating. Now, in research,
keep the question short.
In research, so do you think in something as this, when we are trying to comprehend the brain, should we restrict to understanding its function and so that we can correct the diseases and stuff, or we should go past ahead where you say the artificial intelligence will exceed human intelligence?
See, it's very difficult to see the downside and the consequences fully, because it may happen over years. Right? So let me give you another example. When cars were introduced, actually most of the cars were electric cars to start with. Then Ford created this combustion engine and created the factories that churned out cars with combustion engines, fossil fuels. In large numbers, the cost came down, and that became the model for cars and for automobiles for the next 100 years. Now suddenly there is a revival of interest on electric vehicles because of the pollution. It took us almost 100 years to realize that this is going to create huge amount of pollution. So we don't know, right? The consequences can come about immediately or many years later. We try and anticipate some of these things, but we may not have all the answers. We may not know what the consequences are. So I think the message is, I think science should progress, technology should progress. We should be aware of consequences, possible potential consequences, and we should listen. We should have a healthy debate. We should listen to all the people, and this is also important for politicians, policymakers also, because ultimately they decide on some of these things actually.
Just one more question from.
I really appreciate the effort by Pratiksha Trust. So I just wanted to know, right now, the whole effort is to understand the research, to do the research in this field. I want to know that what are the efforts to build the gap between the private and the academia to like the application of these things. I mean, if it is there.
Right. So yes, we need to strengthen that ecosystem in India. Clearly, there is an effort here at IISc through the Center for Innovation and
SID, Society for Innovation and Development.
Society for Innovation and Development. The research has to be translated to products and services, which then brings benefit to society, etc. It creates jobs, creates wealth. So that complete cycle, and then that wealth is fed back into more research. So that virtuous cycle has to be created, and that's why I said, we need to increase private participation, we need to increase private investment in research. It is starting to happen.
Okay. So thank you, Chris, for setting a splendid stage for this workshop on brain computation and learning. We have a very loving memento for you, very small but loving memento. It contains a copy of the kernel, which is IISc's magazine. It also contains a brain computation and learning t-shirt that we would like you to wear.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. May I now call upon Rishikesh to conduct the proceedings for the next session.
Okay, my name is Rishikesh Narayanan, and I'm going to be your host for the day, basically. And I would like the speakers to see the watch there, clock. And the plan is to have 45 to 50 minutes of lecture and 10 to 15 minutes of discussion at the end of it for a workshop